Welcome to Behind the Audition podcast with your host, Curt Hilton. Listen in on interviews with voiceovers, filmmakers, producers, animators, and much more. Curt, a voice actor himself, will give insider tips to the business, talk with guests about how they got into the business, and be sure to stay tuned to the end of the podcast when he challenges his guests with a pop-up audition. Now it's time for Behind the Audition podcast. Here's Curt Hilton.
Welcome back to another episode of Behind the Audition podcast. On this episode, I got to speak to the phenomenal voice actor, Krit Tone. We talked about how he started out as a voice actor, how workshops and coaching from a top coach helped his experience. We talked about rate differences overseas, being the voice of some major world brands, and much more. So sit back and enjoy this episode of Behind the Audition podcast. All right, coming on the show today, I'm super excited for my next guest. And myself, I should say. We have communicated on social media. We finally got a chance to have each other on the show. I came across my next guest on TikTok. He's blown it up on TikTok. A lot of voiceovers now I come across, and he also has a wonderful brand I want to talk about. Coming on the show, you've heard him on Disney. You've heard him talk about Honda. You've heard him talk about Ford, Coke, Yamaha, and of course UNICEF. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show, Krit Tone. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, thank you. Super busy though. Bunch of voiceover work today. It's 10 p.m. over here, so if I look a little tired,
that's awesome. Where are you at right now?
So I'm in Bangkok, Thailand,
Awesome.
and I wake up at 12, right at noon,
Yeah.
and then I work throughout the night because a lot of my clients are in Europe and in the U.S. So it's a little weird for me, but I've been blown up on TikTok, which is a good thing, I guess. But
Yeah.
way too many clients hitting me up every day.
So you gotta love that. Before we get into that, let's talk about how you got into the voiceover.
Mhm.
Like, what was it, and when was it that you decided this is what you wanted to do?
So it was in 2011, and I was like this intern at this ad agency called Spa Hakuhodo. It's a Japanese ad agency we have here, and we're just chilling out as interns, chatting, whatever, not much to do. And then one of the ladies was like, "Hey, can you come upstairs with me? I just want you to record this thing for us." So I'm like, "Okay, why not?" So I go up, and they had a studio in the ad agency, and then I said a couple words for them. I don't remember what it was, and that was it. 3 months later, they called me back and they were like, "Hey, that thing you recorded." I'm like, "Oh yeah, I kind of remember, I guess." And she's like, "So that was was part of a pitch, right? Because this ad agency wanted to work with PTT, which is the biggest kind of energy company in this region, and they got that client, right? They signed with that client, and the client said they wanted the same voice actor or voice artist that voiced the pitch." And she was like, "Yeah, so you got to come in and record for us for real and pretend to know what you're doing." So I'm like, "Okay, I'll try. Okay, cool." And I didn't know what voiceovers was at all, so I was just like, I think the movie Transformers came out at the time, and I'm like, someone had to do some voice acting thingy-majig for Optimus Prime, right?
Yeah.
So I guess that's what VO is.
Yeah.
So I go in, and then I think the line was, it was like, RD2, welcome to the world of speed and power, like that.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Okay, cool, go home." And I'm like, "What?" Like I got in a cab for 30 minutes to get to the studio. So I was like, "Don't you want me to do like a second take or
Yeah.
takes at least?"
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they're like, "No, you're good." Right. So I went out and they handed me an envelope, and inside it contained 20,000 baht, which is about $600, and for that line, right? And I was like, "Whoa." And okay, you guys have to understand that in Thailand, like the average monthly salary for people might be $600,
Wow.
right? So yeah, because of the exchange rate and everything, but you can live
Sure.
on $600 here,
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I made, like, I was an intern, I was 21, and I made $600, or the average salary for most people here, in like 5 seconds.
Wow.
So I was like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna be a voice artist.
Yeah. That's awesome.
This
That
is
is
my
so-
career. Yeah.
That's awesome to hear. Like, it's just, you go into somewhere, just, couple lines, you're done, make the money, go. That's always like a voiceover's dream, to go in and record something one take and go. I think a lot of us on social media talk about that. That one take that's perfect and just walk out strutting. So you now are blowing it up on TikTok. I see. I came across your page, and you do promo work, and a lot of people that come on the show, Stefan Johnson, as well as Charlie Turo, Ryder, a bunch of huge promos. And I came across yours, and you blew it away. Like some of the promo ads that I saw. What was it that made you want to do promo?
Well, for me, like I didn't have like goals. Like I wasn't like, I want to do this or that, except for maybe like car ads, I like that stuff, but I actually studied with Mark. I took his classes, Mark Ryder.
Nice.
So maybe that's why it sounded okay.
Oh, he'll love hearing that then. He'll love hearing that. Absolutely.
Yeah, because the master taught me, right? But for me, like the only goal was just, I wanted to do some car ads, because that first thing I did was for PTT, which was actually like their lubricant kind of like car lubricant, a kind of division. And I was like, man, I wish I could voice for like car companies like Ford or Chevrolet or whatever, and that was always my primary goal. But here in Thailand, I have to explain to some people that may not know the system here, right? Like it's almost like studios are our agency, right? They have our samples, and then people go to them and just look at the samples and pick us based on our samples. So we don't do this auditioning stuff, right? So I can't be so I don't get to choose what kind of work comes my way. I'm just sitting here, and they just call me, and they're like, come in, and I just make the cash, and I go home or go to the next studio. That's how it works.
That's awesome. So basically you did what Mark always says to do. You wanted to do promo, so you reached out and you learned how to do it, not just I'm going to be a promo voice actor, and you did the right thing. So after you took his class, do you still like to keep up on coaching, learning more from classes online? How does it work over there where you go? Is there times you feel like you're going into a rut, like slowing down, or is it just constantly being on a roster, you're always constantly being hired?
Well, okay. Like I feel like education is an important thing, and like every time I'm in a class with Ryder, I'm learning new things, but I haven't taken his classes since January, and that's because I've been like, well, one, I've been too busy, and then two, like life was tough for a bit there. Like I lost my granddad, I lost two great uncles that I was really close to and stuff.
Sorry to hear
and
that.
So a lot of things were happening at the time, and I didn't get to keep up with the coaching, right? But the amount of work that came in also increased, so I didn't have time to like do any of that and improve my skills, which isn't a good thing, I know that. But at the same time, like I have so many jobs coming in left and right that like I almost don't have any time left to eat. Like I didn't even have dinner yet today.
Oh my goodness. Well, I appreciate you taking time for me today. That's crazy. I mean, so TikTok
is cool. I was looking forward to this.
Oh, I appreciate it. TikTok is just blowing it up with a lot of voice actors showing their work. You're doing a great job. You're not just on there.
Thank you.
You see a lot of voice actors, I'm guilty of shenanigans sometimes, but you show a lot of your range on there. You're bilingual, right? And you do different two different types of voiceover. How when people reach out, how do you know when it's a legit job, and how do you know when it's a scam?
For me, okay, so how I do it these days is I'm just like, here's my account number, and like you don't get to your job is not going to be in my queue if you don't pay. Right. So everyone pays first, and then they wait 48 hours for my file. Nice. That's how I do it. Nice. So, if if they're just reaching out for some random stuff, then it's but some people are like, that's kind of mean, and they're like, that's not how we do it in the industry here, and no one does that. But I'm like, nah, I can't, because these guys already paid me. So if you don't, if you don't put in the deposit, but I'm like, I don't want the 50% deposit because I don't have time to go, ask for the other 50. Right. So please just give me 100. You've seen my portfolio, you know how I roll. So
that's good.
This is what I do. I'm not gonna like.
So you keep it as a business.
Not turn in the file. Yeah.
Right. You keep it as a business. Some people look at it as a job. It's a business. This is the
Yep.
way my business is ran.
Mhm.
Not everybody runs a business the same, which is very smart. And
Yep.
so would you say that you like to follow the standards of a lot of voice actors over here? Like, there's the GVAA rate and then there's other rates that a lot of agencies go by. Do you follow something like that over there, or do you set your
Okay.
own style?
So it's kind of like really sad. The rates are sad here.
Sure.
But there's a standard in the industry, and it will be like you get like $300 for a 1 minute TV ad or something, and that's it, right? So I mean, we don't consider, or they don't consider, usage rights, where it's going to be played or aired,
Right.
and how long it's going to be aired for. Like, we don't consider any of that. So the rates are so really, really low, right? And that's why I have to do like 10 jobs a day, because otherwise, well, I mean, I'll survive on one job a day, but
I'm sure it's
the
not
rates
as
are so low,
low.
you have to
Yeah.
keep going.
Sure.
Right.
And
Like-
I think that's great. I think that's great because, some people will do freelance sites over here that pay
Mhm.
really low. And you know what sites I'm talking about. And
Yeah.
And but I'm sure you don't do those.
Oh, no, I do those. I do. And so I went onto Fiverr like a couple years ago, right? And I was just like, okay, what's going on? People selling their voiceovers for $5 or whatever. And then I, started doing some research, and some people were like, hey, I'm making like, $2,500 a month on this thing. And I'm like, that's a lot of money here. Like, most people don't make $2,500 here per month, so I'm like, let me see what I can do with this, right? And what I've figured out was, it's going to be low in the beginning, but it's never $5 because have you been on Fiverr? Have you checked it out?
Yeah, absolutely. I have.
Okay.
I've mentioned on the show, I have an announcer job offer on there, and it does really well. And
Yep.
what a lot of people don't know on Fiverr is I've actually seen a couple big time voice actors on there. You can actually sell rights on there now, because Fiverr has it set up where you can have individual usage. You can do full rights, all that type of rights, and you can do annual fees. So you can control it like a business. Now, the thing that I want to give you a shout out for is people need to understand it's different rates everywhere. And it's good to know that over there, rates are going to be different. So if I were to be hired for a company over there, I need to understand it's different pricing. And it's not just everything is the same here. And I think a lot of the misconception is a lot of voice actors need to go by only one standard rate sheet. And that's not true, because people aren't going to, there's big companies aren't going to pay, what you want them to pay. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, like, if Ford, like, let's say, for example, Ford, if they knew how much I was getting paid, they'd probably be like, nah, that's a little low. But you see, like, how it works is, they hire some ad agency in Singapore. Singapore hires ad agencies throughout the rest of Southeast Asia. And then, each agency pitches a little bit less, and the production houses pitch less. And they're like, it's going to cost these voice artist guys like $300 per piece. So, that's what they have in their budget, right? And we're like literally the last step before it goes on air. Like, I'd voice something and it'll be aired like the next day, right? So, like, if I was like, I want to charge a little bit more, they're like, we really don't have more, like, we'd love to give you more, but it's just not in it. But going back to Fiverr real fast, like, I feel like Fiverr is a fine option for people in countries like mine where you don't make a lot of money, right? And the rates are kind of low here, so some of my Fiverr jobs are kind of on par with some of the jobs I get in the studios, some of the smaller jobs. So it's not so bad at all. It's just the problem with Fiverr, as you may know, is like, randos could just come in and say, hey, I want like $5 for 50 words, and then their script is like 1,000 words, right? And then you got to contact customer support, and it's a waste of time,
right?
But luckily I'm like the only Thai Fiverr Pro, and the first Thai Fiverr Pro, only Thai Fiverr Pro, and so customer support like replies real fast. So that's great there. It's been fun on Fiverr, I gotta say.
So your marketing strategy, what is it like for you being you're overseas? I always the guests I always have overseas, I'm always curious, marketing from another country, how do you engage your customers? Is it only through social media, or do you
provide, or do you prefer like email, or do you like reach out phone calls? How do you market your voiceover business over there?
Okay, so I've never called anyone, right? So over here, if you want to get like some serious jobs, you have to kind of be represented by the studios, right? And so you got to approach these studios, and some people would just walk up to the studio and be like, "Hey, I'm Bob,"
Right.
and here are my samples, right?
Right.
And they may or may not like your face, and they might be like, "I don't care about Bob," or they might like you and actually check out some of your samples, and just kind of like agencies, right? They may or may not want to work with you, but if you work with them once and they know you can deliver, and I usually deliver, then they'll call you back, or they'll suggest your samples. They'll suggest your samples to other clients, and yeah, you'll get more jobs. That's how it's done here. Now, most people just stop there, right? But like I like to go on the social media, and usually it's the Instagram. That's what I like to do, and I was thinking, like, no one wants to see like promos and ads, on social media. It's fine on TV, but on social media, like, no one really wants to pay attention, right? So I'm like, hey, how do I make this interesting? So you'd see like my videos, and I'd stitch like my behind the scenes kind of voiceover together with the actual voiceover.
Right.
It's a lot harder than you think when it comes to editing that, because in these studios, there's usually one or two music stands. Right. And people are like, hey, how do you like hook up your camera? I'm like, well, there's a music stand. So I just put my camera and I just record, or my phone, right? I just record on my phone and just leave it there. And I just do a couple takes, and you never know which take they're going to use. And then you have to like come and stitch it together manually. Right. And I find that, a lot of people react to that, and they're like, hey, that's pretty cool. But at the end of the day, I'd get like 1,000 views or 2,000 views, like max, for something like that. And speaking of TikTok, I saw Brent Allen Hagel.
Yeah.
And he was blowing up on TikTok, right? And I'm with Trailer Voice Artists, so I was like, oh, TikTok. And I'm like, I'm really too old for TikTok, And a lot of people say that, and I'm like, okay, fine, whatever. Let me just repost the same videos that I posted on Instagram onto TikTok, just to populate my page. And that's what I did for the longest time, up until I had COVID, which was like a month and a half ago or something. Things didn't really pick up, but then this one ad really picked up. It was me voicing Mitsubishi, and I voiced it while I had COVID. Right. So that was my COVID voice.
So yeah, deep voice.
Like, wow, we love that. Yeah. And I'm like, yeah, that ain't never coming back again unless I get more COVID. But here's the thing. This is the reason why I kind of blew up on TikTok. It wasn't just because of TikTok. You know how like you go to the cinema, and then there's going to be all these like trailers and whatnot. Right. And you're watching it, and then it's like Uncharted, and it's like, Ryder. But after all that stuff, right, in Thailand, for some reason, they play car ads, right? So it'd be like all the Mitsubishi stuff, all the Toyota and everything. Yeah. And because it's played in a theater, right, like the sound quality is just so HD. Yeah. And everyone's like, wow, that sounds so great. And like, I mean, half the time, like the voice artists doesn't sound that great, but just the system, or the sound system, is just epic, right? Right. So they're and I do a lot of car ads, so everyone's heard my voice if they go to the cinema, and I guess most people do, right? And we have 70 million people here, so everyone has heard my Toyota ad, because that's they're rich and they play that ad a lot in the cinema and everywhere else. And, people came into my account because of the Mitsubishi one, and they found out like, oh, you do the Toyota stuff, you do the Ford stuff too. Right. And then they're all like, oh, we've heard you, and like, I've always wondered what you look like and stuff. So that's kind of how it started. And everyone was asking like, hey, how do you sound in real life? Right. And so I'm like, okay, fine. I'll do a video where I say how how I sound in real life. And I'm like, hey, this is me. This is what I sound like, but if chicks are calling, I'm going to be like, hey, babe, how's it going? Right? And
hilarious.
Yeah, and then, but in the end of that video, that's the video that has about like 5 million views right now. At the end of that video, I say, but when I do voiceovers, this is how I sound, and then I'm like, Ford Ranger, live the Ranger life, and everyone's like,
Yeah.
oh, because they didn't, I didn't put the ad up front, right? No one
Yeah.
wants to see that.
Yeah.
Right, but it was at the very, very end, and then and they would watch because it's funny, and then they get to the end and they're like, "Oh, you're the guy that voiced the ad." So then they followed me, and yeah, it's kind of blew up on TikTok, and now I gotta be a TikToker.
See, that's
Crap.
and that's a good thing. I'm on there, and it's so funny. Sometimes we get lost in what we want to post on there because there's so many things we could do. We can do, kind of what you're doing, promo ads. We can show our credibility by showing the brands that we voiced, right? The commercials we voiced, video games. Now, do you have to reach out to the client, say, hey, can I use this for TikTok? And I have like XY followers. Do they say yes, or just they really don't care?
Okay, so I mean, I'm not sure if I'm correct here, but what I understand about ads and stuff, right? Commercials and whatnot, like they're made for the public to view, right? And that's what I'm using in my like trailers or whatever. It's not like private company,
right?
Whatever. So I feel like there should be no problem with me using that, and no one has said anything. So
that's good. Well, it's free promotion, right? Well, it's free.
I guess I'm good.
Yeah, it's free promotion. I mean, you have
for them
a
right?
gajillion followers, and you're voicing their product for free, basically, on your TikTok.
Yeah, but what but recently I reached out to Ford and I said, give me an ad without my voice, because I want my followers to duet that ad with the music, with the actual image and the sound effects and all that stuff. It's for the Ford Ranger Raptor. Like, you guys have the F-150 Raptor there, right? We have the Ranger Raptor. It's a little bit smaller. Nice. And I'm so that's like kind of like the top kind of highest performance pickup truck.
Very cool.
Or here, I'm guessing actually most parts of the world, that's probably the highest performance one. And I'm like, I want that ad without my voice so that my followers can play around with it, right? And for something like that, I had to request permission, because that's not the actual ad anymore if you take my voice out.
Yeah.
Right. So that was the only time I reached out to them, and they're like, yeah, you can post it on September 5th, which was a Monday. And I'm like, I'm not doing that. I'm gonna post it on a Friday, because if I want people to have time at home relaxing and duetting on and everything. So smart that will come soon at some point.
Very cool. Well, now it's time to have some fun. It's time for the audition challenge. I have a fun script that I'm going to send to your chat right now, and I think you're gonna love this. It's gonna pop up on your chat. This is something that fits your lens with the promos. And the new vehicle coming out. So whenever you're ready, have some fun with it.
Coming this fall, the 2023 all-electric Treep station wagon. You will fall in love with this all-in-one dream travel machine. You will fall in love with this all-in-one dream travel machine. Part Jeep, part truck, and part 1980 station wagon. Call your local dealer and order your Treep station wagon today. That's how I would approach it.
What do you think, man? Would you buy one?
Yeah, I'd like one of these. And I was just talking to one of the studios yesterday, and I was like, hey, I think I need to build a studio in my truck, or I need like one of those, RVs or something, because the
work is work. So I want to talk about your other businesses here. You're the founder of Highlands Jerky, and you're the founder of Chula Rowing. Let's talk about the jerky first of all. Like, I love beef jerky, like most Americans here. Tell us about how you got started with the beef jerky.
Okay, so when I was younger, I'd go over to see my cousins over in Texas, and you guys had jerky, right? And I was like, why don't we have jerky over here in Thailand? We have like something similar, but it's like squid jerky and shrimp jerky or fish jerky. But like, people don't know what beef jerky is or pork jerky. When they see it, they're like, is that food? Do we need to eat that with like sticky rice or something? Right. But I mean, I'm like, whatever, I want to make it. So and when I was 22, like just right out of college, I kind of started this like small little factory. It's actually like a house, and then we renovated it and called the FDA and said, "Hey, can you come in and like certify us?" And they came in and they said, "You failed." And I'm like, "I know, because I had no idea what I was doing. But now that you're here, can you tell me why I failed and, specifically what I need to buy, right? Like in terms of, materials and equipment, and where do I need to install these things in this particular facility to allow you to give me an A for this test here."
Right.
So that's what I did. I didn't want to take no classes about FDAs, because I'm like, not everything's going to apply to me, right? If I take a class, 90% of the things are going to apply to bigger factories and whatnot. So that's what I did. And so we got certified with the FDA. We got the HACCP and everything, and the GMP, good manufacturing practices. And then we sell our beef jerky to all the supermarkets here. So that's not bad. But I mean, like, I'm not like a gazillionaire, because not a lot of people know what jerky is. So it's kind of like a
Well, they know now.
gourmet kind of like
They know
niche
now.
thing,
Yeah.
I mean, more people know it these days, but it's still kind of like an expensive snack, because even over there, right, a bag of beef jerky is gonna set you back a few bucks, while like chips might cost less. So people are like, "Why is it so expensive?" And I'm like, we had to sacrifice a whole cow for this.
Right.
It's not made from tomato or potatoes. I mean,
Well, what's
yeah,
what's the most popular flavor that you offer?
it's just peppered beef jerky. That's the most popular one. But we also have like pork jerky.
Ooh.
Not that I like it, but like a lot of people here don't eat beef because
Mhm.
they believe in like a Chinese deity. And then we also have like Muslims and Jews, and they don't eat the pork. So yeah, we
So it's I've had alligator jerky and I've had
yep.
deer jerky. The deer jerky I'll
Mhm.
never ever eat again. But no,
Okay.
you can't go wrong with the beef jerky. And your rowing team, how did that get started?
Okay, so before I went to college, I was in the junior national rowing team. And then somehow I transitioned over to the national team for uh, whitewater kayaking. So I was doing some of that stuff, and the university I go to is, I guess, like the most prestigious university here. And why I
Mhm.
say prestigious is because it may not be the top one, but like, let's say like we're like, oh, Harvard is the best. Like, you kind of think it's the best, but if you really just search up the list, they might
Yeah.
be fifth, right? So
Yeah.
it's like that. And they didn't have a rowing team. So all the rowers, kind of my age, if they wanted to go to college for free on a scholarship, they had to go to other universities. They can't go to the top one, right? But I wanted to go to the top one, so I went, and I was the only rower there. So I had to, start that team up. Otherwise, like, there would never be scholarships for other rowers. But I mean, by the time I got everything set up, like I was already in like fourth year. So I was a senior, and I didn't get no scholarship, but I had to do it for the kids, right? Yeah. So that was that. But other than that, I'm also the founder of the Thai Voice Artists Association. Like,
Nice.
it was not in the sheet that I sent you, because that's kind of new. It's just been 2 years. Basically, it's just a group of, and we don't have a union or anything. It's just a group of us kind of connecting and
That's awesome.
posting jobs and sharing knowledge and stuff like that. We don't do that here because you don't meet other like voice artists and
Mhm.
stuff. And going back a little bit, just so people know, right? Like 10 years ago when I got into VO, I didn't know people took classes,
Mhm.
like, because I just fell into it, right? I was just
Yeah.
like, okay, this is me. I'm doing my VO stuff. And a lot
Yeah.
of people here in Thailand that do VO, they come from, like, they might be singers, like rock stars and like MCs and DJs and whatnot. So like they're all kind of like in the entertainment industry and kind of fell into like voiceover. So no one really taught like voice acting or anything. And I
Mhm.
just found out people actually took classes about 3 years ago.
Wow.
So
Wow.
yeah.
So you're ripping it up, and I'm so grateful you came on today. Before I let you go, what is some inspiring words you give to those starting out in the voiceover industry? I mean, you're tearing up on social media. You're doing great on these rosters. What's some tips to those getting into this industry now that you'd give to those?
Okay, well, my tips would be like always kind of hustle, right? Never like just chill, relax or anything. Like, I'm making quite a bit of money. I'm landing a bunch of jobs, but I'm still going at like 110% like every day. I was exporting the file for Mitsubishi Philippines as we were logging into this Zoom account, Zoom meeting. So that would be my tip. But another thing I'd like people to keep in mind, right? And is like it's about confidence. And how I look at it, right, is when you land a job, you are the best voice artist in the world for that job,
That's
right? Because
awesome.
these companies, they can hire like anyone, right? Ford can hire anyone, Mitsubishi can hire anyone. So if they picked you, then you are the number one best voice artist in the world, right? And then like when I'm there in front of the microphone, or I'm here in front of the microphone, I deliver like I'm the best, and my confidence level is 110%. And I feel like that comes through in your delivery, you know. And yeah. So for a lot of people who do have to audition every day, right? I feel like there's a lot of negativity there, maybe for some people, and stress if you don't land the jobs, right? You just keep hearing all the no's, 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 no's. And that may, put you down a little bit. So always just be really confident that time you land the job, and clients can feel it and they can tell from that, and more clients will come around.
I love the feedback, and I love that you took some time out of your busy, busy, busy schedule. Thank you so much, Krit Tone, for being on Behind the Audition podcast. You rock.
No problem at all.
For more information about Krit Tone, go to krittone.com.
Thanks for listening in on Behind the Audition podcast, made possible by Hilton Productions. If you need a male or female voiceover, contact us at hiltonproductions.com. Hilton Productions, let our voices do the selling.